watery this morning. I was thinking she's such a powerhouse. I've watched you live in action, documenting boots on the ground, and I'm just really impressed. I want to say I did not know that until today, just how absolutely engaged you are, and you have been. And I hope that somebody interviews you one of these days.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, well, I'm glad you're back. We have other things to talk about this time, but before we get into it, I always like to bring our Heavenly Father into the mix. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for us. So, dear Heavenly Father, we come before you now. And as always, I'm just so thankful for this opportunity to come before the people, to share things with them that you need them to hear, Father. As we know, there's so many things going on around us, it's hard to stay focused, and that's what they want, is for us to just kind of be blowing with the wind. And we need to stay steadfast in truth and your light, and so that you can guide us through all that's going on. And so I just thank you for bringing Catherine back into this realm, and just with all the things that she's working on. She is such a powerhouse, Father, and just really fighting to bring truth to the people and share the things that they don't want us to hear, that they try and hide from us, Father. And there's so many things that are happening. And so I'm just so thankful for her and all of her efforts to, fight back against so many things, Father. And as we unpack that, may you just have those that are needing to hear it be the ones that are listening, Father. And may you just guide us through all the information that we have to share. May you bless Catherine and all those that are listening and those that aren't, Father, and just continue to shine your light on us so that we can see the path forward, Father. And may we just trust in your will that it will be done, and that we just have to do the work to get there. So thank you for every moment that you give us, Father, in your precious name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
So last time you were here, you're in Tuolumne County, and you were running for Board of Supervisors. And
well, I don't think I actually, at the time that we talked, I had not decided to do it. It wasn't until, no, wait, had I decided? I forget now.
You had, yes.
I mean, I have lost all sense of space and time. I really, I sort of know, okay, it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. This is sort of what I'm doing. I've lost track of holidays, everything. So what I know we didn't cover was the process. I decided finally, because we were talking about ways you can get engaged. Yes. And we have to do more than just share information. We have to actually pick up the phone, make phone calls, get curious, document. And I'd had a neighbor and a friend of mine say, there's a supervisor position coming up, and we think you should run. Now, I have no history in politics.
Which is
I didn't
good.
know what it would entail. But what I'll tell you is, where I've been the last 4 years is in a place where, like, you got to grab it by the horn. Well, that's almost like a grab it by the horns. Where does that phrase come from, right? You've got to you've got to tackle these moments and go, for the gusto. And so I thought, you know what? What do I have to lose? I've already been doxxed. I've been marginalized, censored, silenced. And if anything, I'm going to go for it, and I'll learn as I go. Yes. And so a friend of mine said, it's like you jumped off the ship to learn how to swim. And I said, absolutely. So I went to a meeting where they said, so you want to run for local office? Here's what you do. And so I threw my name in the hat, and then off I went. It was almost impulsive, because many people, I think, if they run for office, they're prepared. They've been studying up on their county. I'm still relatively new to this county. I moved here about 2 years ago. And so there's a lot I don't know. But what struck me was, I know that I'm in this because I can see what's coming down the pipeline, and I want to be on the inside. I want to see the template style rollout of all the things coming down. I want to be on the inside so I can then advocate for everybody around me, with a seat at the table, with a vote that counts. And I went back and forth for a while. Part of me was afraid to do it because I didn't want to put my address, my phone number down. I mean, all of that goes out there. Right. And I had been, I've been followed home, I've been harassed. But I realized, if I don't do this, then, I've done everything. As I said, the protests, the letters, the, comments on Zoom meetings, going to meetings. Right. And I felt like, I'm just going to go for it. And if anything, may I inspire more people just to jump in, and not knowing what they're doing, but just because you're passionate and you care and you want to make an impact, go for it. So run for local office. I think at the end of the day, we can worry about the bigger, presidential election, the global affairs, but at the end of the day, we have to bring it back to our own backyard. We have to bring it back to what impact can I make locally. So I ran. And at the time that I put my name in, there was a gentleman that was running. He'd been running for quite a while, and he thought he was going to run uncontested. He was very confident about this. And suddenly, here's this woman who jumps in, and nobody knew who I was. And in fact, I had some friends say, "You need to get your name out there because nobody really knows you. So you need to have Facebook." And I said, "I refuse. I'm not doing. I've been off Facebook for a couple of years now, and I'm not doing Twitter or Facebook." And I said, I really want this to be grassroots, So I didn't take a dime from anyone. Every expense came out of my own pocket. So my friends and I shared the cost of making some signs and some flyers, and off I went. And it was a trip because an old article about me and my family that was written back when I lived in Santa Cruz came out, and it basically was a doxer. You know what a doxer is? Somebody that tries to throw you under the bus. They say, you're this, this, or this. And they pulled out the most unsavory parts of my history. Now, I've had a channel now for 4 years where I'm sharing my experiences. I'm sharing my thoughts. I'm ranting. I'm venting. I have to have a space to, one, put down all the information that I'm learning,
right?
So I can go to sleep at night. But then also to express what I'm going through. And I'm very open with a lot of people. I just need to put it out there, and it's part of my journaling almost. I used to journal by hand, and now it's I have to just talk. And so information then started swirling around this town about me. And everyone was like, she's an extremist. She's crazy. She's a radical. And so, but I just said, bring it, man. I can talk to anybody. If you have a problem with me, let's sit down and talk about why I did what I did and why I said what I said. And we're also human. I've used really sailor language, and I express myself. And it's for me, the bad language has been a way to release emotion because we get so pent up, right? And I do it with cursing, or I'll do it with, make like goofy gestures, rubber face, and just kind of like mock stuff, just because I have to release this frustration that I feel frequently with what's happening. It's like never ending onslaught of baloney. So long story short, it took so much out of me, because not only had I been pursuing, multiple things like the geoengineering, the carbon capture scam with Bill Gates in our county, the mosquitoes. And I was like, then suddenly people were saying, well, what do you think about our county's decision to do this? Or what about the CARES Act or the care courts? And what do you think about our water issues? And so then I had to absorb a lot more information and try to have coherent conversations about issues that I was not very familiar with. Right. But that was part of my journey. And I accepted that there's a lot I don't know. It's impossible for any one person to know it all, right? And so I was launched. I went out there and I had some debates and town halls, and I was asked questions in public, and I had an interview on the radio, and I just went for it. And I just had to remember, you're human. You're not a politician. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fumble. And at the end of the day, I lost pretty badly. But, I still was able to go out there and speak my truth and possibly plant a few more seeds than I would have if I had done.
Yes.
So, is that your computer or mine?
It is mine, and I can't turn it.
I just want to make sure.
I don't know how to turn it off. It's weird. No, I will turn off my notifications, and then it's like, it doesn't. It says they're off.
Okay.
They're on. They're off. I don't know.
So
sorry.
That was a great experience. That's okay. And but I wanted just to let you know that was something else that I tried. And I would really hope that, more people look for those local committees, those local opportunities, and just get in there and learn and have a say. We need more of us doing that instead of withdrawing completely from politics, which I'm also doing. I can't take any more of the Kamala Trump stuff. It kills me. I really think we just need to go hyper local, because at least at that level, we have a vote whether or not we approve, money with strings attached from the state, or we don't. And then we find a solution to how can we fix our own community issues without having to take the blood money, So the more we can get involved. I mean, I was watching some of your videos, you were doing the point in time counts. We have homeless committee out here. And, if you're interested in election integrity, in the homelessness issue, in the housing issue, where they're giving vouchers or giving money to landlords to house, the homeless, or people that have been bused here, everyone has a role to play. It's more than just one person can take on. We really do need all hands on deck and people who are willing to put in the elbow grease. And I don't see a lot of people that are really there yet. And I
I
don't
know.
know why.
I
I don't
know.
know
Well,
why.
don't you think, I mean, during COVID, they were, right? During that scamdemic. But then, and they were really gung ho, but then it's as if all those people have kind of taken a step back and really aren't paying attention. And then something kind of will come forward and they'll be like, I can't believe this is happening. But I mean, it's been happening all along. We should never have stepped back. I mean, I've gotten even more, involved. So it's like, for me, I don't understand how they can't see it, but I think that people just thought like, oh, that was it. And I'm like, no, that was just the beginning to, and getting us to where they needed us. And they want you to go back to sleep. They want you to sit back and go like, oh, that's it. There's nothing I can do kind of stuff, but we should never have, I mean, this is something we should have always been doing our entire lives.
What struck me is there are parallels now that I'm seeing. So it was really, that was the beginning, as you said, to now this new kind of technology push. So what they did during COVID, during the lockdowns, was they pushed you into your home
Mm-hmm.
on their programming devices. And
Right.
children were given free IBM laptops. And, so suddenly, and then you had to, to go back to school, you had to sign up for a digital platform like Color, Genome, or Color Health, or I'm forgetting the Daily Pass. There were so many platforms where they wanted you to grow accustomed to giving up all your health information, where you would then take your test. You would say, if you're negative positive, you'd enter your symptoms every day. I mean, they got people accustomed to that because it was part of the requirement to go back to
Right.
school. And
Right.
so now, I've been making a lot of videos on a lot of topics, but something that I have been saying from the get-go is do not get on these digital platforms. You have got to opt out. And if you've already signed up for them, you can still withdraw your consent and say, I no
Right.
longer want to be a part of this platform, and I withdraw my consent. Get me out of here, right? And
Right.
make your school make accommodations for you, right? If you're not using their daily pass, find another way, make it challenging for them. Something that's come up in the last, about a year ago, I learned about some schools and some more liberal communities that were using an app at school on their Chrome tablets, and it was called Minga, and that is basically a social credit score. And it's somehow connected to Clever, Microsoft, Google. So of course, these are like the biggest corporations that are already, tied in with military.
Right.
And everything is becoming more and more cohesive. All your data is now being shoveled and funneled and sorted and stored, and patterns are being analyzed, and it's all
Yeah.
done via AI and algorithms. And so, come to find out, in my very rural county, a friend said to me, well, guess what I just found out? Our local high school is using Minga, and the students have to use that for a hall pass. And now they're getting behavior points. If they go to school events, they get points. And if they have issues, they have their points deducted. And it's essentially a social credit score. It even times you when you go to the bathroom.
Wow.
So when you go to the bathroom, you have to let the app know you're going, and it monitors all of this.
It's terrifying.
Absurd. It's terrifying. Yeah. And so I'm like, again, it's like I keep getting hit with, Kat, guess what happened? Guess what and so I'm not in the public school system. So what I said to my girlfriend was, we need to let this group of mothers know. It's Moms for Liberty out here. I said, you've got to let them know. They have got to get out of this. And the sad thing I've been hearing is that the kids like it, because if they behave, they get points, and they love to see rewards. It's sort of like the old fashioned clip up for good behavior, clip down, here's your name on this chart. Everyone in the class can see if you've been a good boy or a bad boy today.
It's so bad. They're conditioning these kids, and it's like, why would you even, but they don't see, there's so many things that they don't understand what its intention is. It's even like getting us out of our cars. So you have all of these, young adults, young, kids that are, in college and different things. Oh, I don't want to drive. I mean, I don't even want a car. So they don't understand it's about putting us in a 15-minute city and like enslaving us. They think it's like providing them more opportunities, but in reality it isn't. But they are really good at getting these different groups of individuals to kind of capitulate and go along with it, because it seems easier, like, oh, well, I want to get more points in school because then maybe I'm not going to have to do my work as well or something like that. Right. And so they see it as something that it isn't, and they can't see through past the veil of delusion that has been placed upon them, which is so sad.
It is. It is. That's just one of many, many things now that I'm caring about. But I feel like, again, like there's only so much I can do. So I can share the information. I had an old video, you know, and my friend said there's a social credit score app platform that they're using, and I said, tell me if it's Minga. Here's an old video. So what I find myself doing is going back to videos I made like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, saying, all right, I've covered this. Thank goodness I have these videos, because
Right.
it helps me when I'm getting bombarded from multiple angles. I have a lot of different chats I'm still on, and sometimes I have to just take a step back because it's too much. But I
Yeah.
can just say, boom, here's this video. Oh, here's this video. And I go back. I'm so grateful that I've documented along the way, because I'll tell you, when I go back to 2020 and 2021 and I see the pain on my face, and I see what I was going through. And we have amnesia. It's like a protective
Yes.
mechanism. We
Yeah.
have to forget the horrors because you have to keep moving, right? You can't live in
Right.
that constant state of stress. There is nothing more precious for me than to go back and remember what I was going through, and
Yes.
see the phone calls I was making, the pain I was experiencing. Like, just, it was agony. It was pure hell. I considered it like this experience. It was the worst, most challenging experience of my life. And I had to endure it for years. And I'm still grieving. I'm still processing. Right.
Mhm.
And, but it's really, it's a great reminder for why you got to keep fighting.
That's right.
And,
Because they do, right? I mean, they continue to do all the things that they're doing, all of them. And if it's when we step back that all that stuff kind of flourishes, and it's like it gets into every nook and cranny. So it's important for us to fight back against all of those things like
all
that
of
at the school, right? I mean, even if the kids like it, it's
yeah,
like that's okay, but that shouldn't be happening. And they
no.
don't understand. They're not equipped with the knowledge that we are.
I think we need more parents really who, looking into this, and then having some serious conversations with their kids, and then
Right.
also children. And then also maybe, at some point somebody could just have a gathering for parents and students, so that the students can come and find out
Right.
why it's not good. There's just so much
Right.
that, if you're in these systems and this is something that your school's using, by all means, look at my video, look at the resources, do your own research, ask questions, go to the board meetings at the school, talk to them about your concerns. That's something you can do. Anyone can do
Yes.
that. And we need more people doing that.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's and for me it's really challenging. I can give my son all the tools and teach him all these things, but what's sad for me is to see that he is growing up in this system where other children that he grows up with are going to be locked into this. And I just look at his pool of partnership, narrowing, narrowing, narrowing. And I think, will he ever be able to have children with someone that hasn't had, all of these genetically altering, whatever the heck, whatever they
Right.
are? I
Bioweapons.
just don't know. I have my days where I think, well, there's sometimes it feels a little hopeless, but I never stop. I never stop. I have to do this for the rest of my life. I
Yeah,
may not be able
I
to
know.
stop this. I mean, I just think back to the time when they told us to wear masks and stand on dots. I knew a lot of freedom people that wore the mask just to get through the day. They're like, I'm just
Oh
going to
yeah.
wear it because I want to shop and I don't want to fight today. If they had not done that, if they had just said no and they had stood up, I mean, that was the angst I went through. It was agonizing, like preparing to go into a grocery store just to buy some groceries. And it was like, ugh,
Right.
prepare for the harassment, for them to chase me down. What's it going to be today? And I have PTSD from those days.
Oh
And
yeah.
we need more people that are willing to just get uncomfortable. Just get
Yes.
uncomfortable already. Okay. Last year, 4 years ago, get there.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of what people think anymore. You've got to put yourself out there. You have everything to lose if you don't, right?
Yes. Well, it'll be far worse. Like whatever you're trying to keep from happening is going to happen anyway. So do
Your
you want to have some kind of control over it or
yeah,
not?
your discomfort over judgment of others is far less worse, than what is literally on the table right now. It is
Yes.
the total enslavement and imprisonment of everybody, maybe our minds, right?
Oh
They
yeah.
we talked about that. DARPA's all their technologies wanting to impact the mind and change thoughts and shift perceptions, and you've got programming. They've got all these things lined up and ready to go, and we are up against, this is an uphill battle. We are up against, it's evil.
It is.
It is demonic. And again, I'm still on my spiritual journey too, trying to figure out, okay, what parts of the Bible might have been manipulated, because what can I trust anymore, right?
Right.
And so when I get lost in my spiritual, like, I'm hearing from everybody, what's your perspective? What's your perspective? And I'm finding that everyone has a belief system. And my concern is that with your belief system, if you think a savior's coming, is that keeping you from doing what you need to do in this fight? If you think someone's like a savior, meaning whether it's God, a Messiah, or a president, if
Right.
you think that someone's going to solve these problems for you, you're probably doing less than you should be doing in this fight if nobody was coming.
Right.
I wish people could have the mindset that no one's coming. No one's
Yep.
coming. There is no
Right.
happy ending. This is
Right.
on all of us. That is what I wish everyone could be. That's the mindset that I wish everyone had, was no one's coming. So
Yes.
what are you going to do right now? Because I have a
It
lot
was,
of people that continue to drink their lattes and go for bike rides, and they sleep well at night because, in the end, God wins. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But wait a minute. Maybe that's the case. But what if it's not? I want
right.
people to think to themselves, like, what if it's not? What if that's what we've been told, so that we really don't activate, right? I'm just putting that out
No,
there as,
yeah. Well, that's the thing is they want, I mean, be it Trump, be it whoever, like, and well, there's a lot of Christians that think that the rapture is coming soon. And so they're like, I just got to stay here because I'm going to be, and it's like, no. And I do believe that God, we do win in the end, but we still have to do what it takes to get there. It doesn't happen without us. And
yes.
so it's like, if you're not willing to get uncomfortable and do the things that need to be done, it's going to not be good. And I don't know what that looks like. So for me, I have to do it, but I don't wait for someone. It's like them talking about, oh, the white hats are in control and they're going to
No.
come and you don't have to do anything. And it's like, so people sit back and they think it's happening behind the scenes for them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but on the off chance that that's wrong, are
Yeah.
you willing to lay down and just let them walk all over you? Because that's what's happening, because you think that you don't need to do anything. It
Yes.
takes us to make a change. And when we do stuff, it
Yeah.
does make a difference. People just
Yeah.
want that instant fix. They want it to be over with. And I'm like, no, this is a lifelong journey.
This
Some of
is.
us have just like gotten into the journey, but it doesn't stop after COVID. It continues.
Oh yeah.
And so when we don't continue with it, that's when there's trouble that comes. And so like, it's crazy because I love all this stuff. I mean, and even the stuff that you talk about, like the geoengineering and the mosquitoes and the fires and, carbon capture and all of those things, that those are things they don't want us to know. So, I mean, and it's easy for people to be like, oh, well, that makes you crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're a white wing extremist.
Mhm.
And it's like, no, I'm just trying to bring forward information to you because like all that geoengineering fits perfectly into their climate plan, like their climate agenda. And I'm like, you worship this climate god. And as long as you have these storms happening or all of this stuff, it fits into it. And I'm like, but in reality, if you cared about people and you cared about our land and everything like that, you would want to stop that.
Yes.
Because it's killing people, it's killing the earth, like, but not in the way they say. But as long as they say it is the way they say, then they can push their agenda, spend billions of dollars to enslave us. And I'm like, that's all it has to do with, is taking total control over everything.
It's not just that. I'll tell you what I just stumbled into in the last couple of months. So a friend of mine reached out to me and she said, Catherine, they're spraying for mosquitoes now, because my friends know I'm into the mosquito stuff, right? I want to watch and see what's happening with that. And I started to catch wind of, they remember years ago, I told you, they said, we want to prevent the next public health crisis. So we're going to, okay. Yeah. Well, she said they're spraying to kill mosquitoes in this county. So, and this is right before I'm about to go on a vacation. Okay. It's really hard for me to go on a vacation because this never ends, but I have to sometimes just check out to be with my husband and his family, because it's really challenging. But so right before my vacation, so I dove in, and the day that I had to fly out, I'm on my computer. I'm like, I have to get a video out there and let people know what's happening, because what I found out was they were using an adulticide. That's not a mistake to call it an adulticide. Okay, it's an organophosphate.
I'm sorry, it's funny because it's not.
It's so obvious.
I mean, it's just like they're right in your face, and it's like, oh my gosh.
So I found out, and I called the general manager, and just got some information. I just wanted to find out if this was true. But yes, they're spraying something called dibrome, DIBROM. I've made some videos on this. I'll share the links with you later.
Yeah.
The active ingredient is what you want to look into. So Roundup, right? Roundup is actually the active ingredient is glyphosate. Well, with dibrom, the active ingredient is NALED. I pronounced it NALED because I read it, but it's NALED. And NALED comes with a whole host of issues, and it impacts people as well. And I have a handout that I started to, I have a handout I can share with you or a link to it, but it is highly toxic to bees. Okay, it just kills them. Butterflies, bad for birds, bad for aquatic life, bad for humans.
Yes.
Ultimately can lead to Parkinson's, respiratory distress, and death. And you're breathing this in. We're breathing this in because they're using aircraft to disperse these chemicals over large swaths of land. When I heard this, I about lost it. I felt sick. I was so upset. I still am. And so I couldn't sleep for months. Like, I went on my trip and I kept researching. And then at one point I lost reception because we were on a family cruise. And then when I was gone, I'm sorry, there was the attempted assassination. There's all these things happening. It was like just chaos. And they're like, the internet's down. They're grounding the flights. And I was like, what is going on? All these things, right? I'm like, these are the days I was waiting for. So long story short, back to this. I got home and I was tracking. So you can sign up for spray alerts with your local mosquito vector control district. So I'd encourage everybody, and I've been saying this for a while, please type in your county, type in your city, and then type in Mosquito Vector Control District and go to their website, poke around on their tabs, look for mosquitoes, look at the methods of treatment. Sometimes they'll have a very obvious tab that says sign up for spray alerts, okay? But you should have some notification of where they are going to be spraying, whether they're using fogging trucks or they're doing aerial applications, okay, from aircraft. So I started tracking the flights because I signed up for spray alerts and I got the dates and the times and the maps. So I then got on my Flight Radar 24, folks. If you still haven't gotten on Flight Radar 24 and just poked around, like looking at the different aircraft over your head, just start small, just go right over your map, and look at which plane is that, which plane is this. Well, I started tracking the aircraft and I was tracking them out of an airport up in Sacramento, and they would fly down, down, down. And then they were doing their loops. Okay. They're like between 200 to 500 feet. Okay. Spraying, and then they'd fly over here and spray. So I was tracking this for a long time. Then they sprayed directly over a wildlife ecological reserve that's meant to be protecting birds, okay? And I'm like, this is so hypocritical. This is such baloney. I was pissed. And then also I'm watching them spray over high schools, colleges, nurseries, and farms, okay? They're spraying over city centers, all right? And I don't think people are aware of this. I don't think they have a damn clue. And so I finally got to the point where I've had enough of waiting around. Okay. So first I contacted my board of supervisors. I said to them, are they spraying here? Because our own local vector control district so far is not spraying, but the counties around us are. Okay. So that was good to find out. I got my board of supervisors on notice to let them know I'm not having this. And so I had one of them, reached out. So long story short, but still it's happening near me. And I'm watching this happen around not just California, but the United States now, right? Because then Fauci got West Nile and now. So they're spraying everybody saying these mosquitoes are causing disease. And my question has always been, what comes first? You spray the toxic chemicals, which give us symptoms, to which then we go in and we're told it's this kind of a virus. These are the symptoms. So now we're going to get your fake PCR test, which, it confirms we have your virus when it might just be organophosphate poisoning.
Yes.
Right? I think that's what's happening. I think we are actually being poisoned first, and then they have the excuse to give us their stupid tests, which then confirm whatever they want us to believe. And then the hype continues. And so I'm watching this happen. So I just want to say that you don't have to wait for anybody. Call your vector control district, call your board of supervisors. And I took it the next level. I decided I want to know who these pilots are. I'm sick of it. I want to know who's spraying us, whether you're doing cloud seeding or you're doing adulticide spray. I want to know who you are. And I want you to know that I know who you are and I have your face on camera, right? So I was going to wait for a friend to join me because it's about a 2-hour drive to the airport. I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I printed out 3 pages of a summary of all the health ill issues with NALED and then links and resources because at the very least I thought these pilots may not have a damn clue. pardon my French. They might not have a clue. So
Right.
I'm going to at least go out there and inform them. So I drove to the airport really early. I knew the spray alert was for that evening around 8 or 9 p.m. And I got there at around 6:45 or 7. And I waited in the parking lot. This is kind of a private airport. It's not like a large international airport. Okay. So they've got a little fixed base operation there where pilots come and go, and aircraft come and go, smaller aircraft. So I waited outside and I was hoping to see the pilot arrive so that I could go up to, or the pilots arrive
Right.
around the time that I was getting set up. Well, I'm also on flight radar. I'm sitting in my car and I'm watching flights. I'm looking for the tail numbers that I know to be affiliated with their project. Okay. Also, that said, their planes, the two aircraft I saw that were doing the spraying were registered to a Delaware trust company. A Delaware trust is where corporations and government can hide. You don't get to know the names of the businesses that are involved. It's like a trust. It could be
Right.
anybody. It could be Bill Gates. It could be Elon Musk. It could be anyone. So I wanted to find out a couple of things. Now, number one, who are these pilots? Do they know what they're doing? Number two, who do they work for? Who's paying
Right.
for this? Right? Well, when I got there, about 30 minutes after I kind of drove around, scouted the airport, I wanted to figure out where can I watch the planes come and go, and how can I also watch the access point for the pilots where I knew that they would be going through at some point. Well, he was there early, and he took off when I was there, and I saw him he had his little transponder turned on. I went, oh, he's already out there. So I filmed him taking off, and then I had to wait. And he sprayed and sprayed and sprayed. And I was just sitting in my car waiting. And I was like, what am I going to do? And then there were sheriffs walking around outside. And there were a couple of sheriff's helicopters that were circling the area. And I thought, ooh, do they know I'm here? Because
Right.
I
Are
said
they coming for me? Oh my gosh.
ends, because I'm frustrated, right? And sometimes I feel that way. I'm like, just, make it so the planes can't do their work, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, he finally started coming back, and I got really nervous. It was dark at this point, and I'm sitting here in my car in a parking lot watching people come and go. I'm watching sheriffs walking around, and I'm going, okay, what am I going to do? So, and I'd already been there now, again, 2-hour drive to get there. I'd been sitting there for a couple extra hours, and I thought, well, I have to find him. And then it struck me, I thought, he may not even walk out and come to the parking lot, because often pilots can drive right out onto the tarmac and get on their aircraft and then drive away, and they have a security gate. And I thought, well, I got to do something. So the minute he landed, I got out of the car and I filmed the airport. And I decided, and I had my paperwork with me. I thought, okay, I'm just going to go for it. And so I went up to the fixed base operation building, and I went up and filmed even more because I saw him pull up kind of close. And then I saw a line guy walking around. I said, hey, do the pilots of this aircraft, and I mentioned the tail number, okay, this aircraft, do the pilots come through here? I've got some paperwork for them. Just very matter of fact. He said, yeah. He's like, you can come on in. So I came in, and then I went up to the front desk and I said, hi, I've got some paperwork for, 849. And I'd like to, and she was like, okay, you want to leave it here? And I said, no, I'd like to give it to him directly, please. And she's like, okay, well, let me give him a call. And so then I went to the bathroom, walked past a room full of sheriffs. I was like, oh, and then, I came back out, and, I got in touch with the pilot. I'll just put it there. Okay. So I got to speak directly to, it was one pilot. Come to find out, he's been doing this for 20 years.
Wow.
He thinks it's really safe. And he knows it's safe. Ultimately, after our conversation lasted quite a while, but he believes it's safe. He doesn't think they kill bees. They've been doing this forever, and he doesn't really see the problem. And he said, West Nile virus, Anthony Fauci was just hospitalized. And I said, do you really believe that? And he kind of looked at me and chuckled a little bit. And I said, but really, so you do realize the harms of it. Like, what are you spraying? Number one, he confirmed what it was. Then I said, what's the active ingredient? And he was like, well, it's sun. Then he confirmed what that was. And I don't think he's got the truth. I think what I discovered is that he's being told by these PhDs, scientists, that, who work for these global chemical companies. That's what I discovered later. Okay. Because then I found out who he worked for. I found out who the planes were registered to. And I found out the main people I should be contacting with my concerns. Okay. And these are the people that sit on the nonprofit called the Mosquito Control Associate. No, Mosquito. I'm going to forget the name now. I'll get it for you. But anyway, there's a nonprofit that works closely with the mosquito vector control districts in California. And so long story short, as we were talking, he very friendly conversation. I was polite, because I had access to talk to him. I didn't want to have an altercation. I was very polite. I just said, I'm really concerned about what you're doing. I'm a mom. You're spraying right over our heads. And he admitted he'd sprayed 12,000 acres that night, and was like, and we know this is safe because I've been doing it for a very long time, and I don't want to hurt anybody, and I don't want to hurt animals. And but I said, well, how do you really know you're not? He said, because I
Right.
spray all the time. I spray bees every day, and they're not dying. And so at least I learned that he did not have malicious intent. And I said to him, I have this for you. I said, it sounds like you're pretty well informed, but I really, really would love you to read this, please, because I think there's some links and some references here and some articles that might change your mind. And I said, I really hope you read this. And he thanked me, and I said goodbye. And I had gotten what I needed. Now I knew who the aircraft were registered to and who he worked for. And then I got the name of the general manager of a vector control district that is the basically the end all be all to deciding whether or not this adulticide spray campaign is happening or not. So if there's something I want you all to know, it's that the general managers of your mosquito vector control districts have the final say. They can say, we're not doing this, it's not good for us, or they can say, we're going to do this. And so I want everyone out there to know that if you find that your county has spray alerts and you're being sprayed, keep track, document, show people, tell your community, tell your neighbors, document the animals and the insect life around you. Take note of your symptoms. Okay, if you feel unwell or dizzy or nauseous, everyone needs to be paying attention to what's happening, and then paying attention to the symptoms that they're having, and then also the symptoms of animals around them, birds, insects, bees, everything. Document, everybody. But long story short, after leaving him, then the next day I did some research, and I found out that this nonprofit that pretty much drives all of this policy is connected to, it's the mosquito control. Oh my gosh, I'm going to find it right now. Here it is. It's the American Mosquito Control Association. Thank you. And I found out who they're sponsored by. And they are sponsored by subsidiaries, basically. This is how big global chemical corporations hide. They've got like little subsidiaries, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, here's this company and this company that are, the parent company is like this big global toxic company. Okay. So long story short, I also then went through the receipts for this mosquito vector control district that was paying for this adulticide spray. And guess what I found out? This district was buying the very same chemicals of the big companies that sponsor this nonprofit. Okay. So it's that circle jerk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And their scientists are the ones who are saying that what they're spraying is safe. Just
Of
like
course.
the glyphosate Roundup scientists that swore that glyphosate was safe. They had people ghostwriting their studies to say that glyphosate
Right.
is safe. Same thing. So you have pilots and public mosquito vector control district general managers being told, this is what we can do. It's completely harmless. It'll just kill the mosquitoes. We're going to calibrate it to just in such a way that this is a wonderful public health initiative, and they're spending our taxpayer dollars to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these chemical corporations sponsor all of the media and the propaganda and the projects. And then the mosquito vector control districts are buying those chemicals right back and dispersing them on top of the population. This is a poisoning of the public and of nature right now, under the guise of we want to protect you and your health from mosquitoes.
Right.
Spray you. Oh, one thing the pilot said to me, he said, you want me to scare you really bad? And I said, sure. And he said, this is what they sprayed in World War I. They used this as a nerve agent. And I said, so you can see why I'm concerned, right? And he goes, yeah, but they sprayed it at much higher levels than what we're spraying here. Doesn't matter. Did you catch that? They used these organophosphate pesticides as nerve agents in World War I. And by the way, some of the global connections I found, one of the companies that is making some of the products, the gentleman that's running this company used to work for another company that was the co-founder of IG Farben, the chemicals they used in World War II, right? The nerve agents, right? So they are literally dousing us in nerve agents and telling us it's for our health. That is where we are today. That is why I can't sleep. And I also can't sleep because I don't see enough people who really are interested enough in understanding that this is happening.
Right. Well, just like all the well, and if you think about it too, I mean, they're also putting out the mosquitoes.
I know.
Right, Bill Gates. So it's like you're putting out, and that's under the guise of like, well, it's going to kill these other mosquitoes. We genetically modified them. And it's like, okay, so you're going to do that. Then you're going to spray for them when you're really just toxifying the people. But that's what they do with their cloud seeding and geoengineering. So it's like, oh, we're trying to make sure that because we're in a drought, we need to get water over here. And it's like, anytime you have ever done that, there's been a storm like here in San Diego in January. There was a storm because they were cloud seeding with SAPA, the Southern Santa Ana watershed district, right? And so it's like, but this was a once in a lifetime storm. This is like, oh, this has never happened. And I'm like, yeah, but they were doing that. There's documentation of this, and you guys can't even acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And then they didn't even keep up the infrastructure, so it just everybody lost everything.
It's by design.
Yeah,
by design, and these minions probably don't even know it.
No.
Right. And you've got board members, the board of trustees that are voting these projects in over and over and over because they've been doing it for so long. They say, oh, we've been doing it forever. We had the same thing. We had flooding out here. Of course, then we had FEMA come out and sit in our Rockefeller funded resilience centers to give people loans for their damages, right? While the county got to ask for millions of dollars in reimbursements for their damaged infrastructure. This is so backwards, folks. I don't trust FEMA as far as I could throw them. I don't trust your elected officials as far as I could throw them. I think a lot of people are just pushing paper. They're collecting a paycheck and they're just passing the buck. Oh, that's above my pay grade. I can't care about that stuff. We need more people to give a damn right now, because it is happening around us. It's happening to you. There's fires, there's flooding, there's, and it's so far beyond. I can't even, sorry. Yeah.
I know.
So the adulticide.
People wonder why they don't.
Let me clarify this too. So Oxitec, which is the company funded by Bill Gates, and the Wellcome Trust, which is essentially like GlaxoSmithKline. Okay, so it's big pharma, big chemical companies, big biotech companies, and they are literally killing nature and replacing it with the CRISPR edited versions, right? That's what they want. They want to actually engineer white blood cells because we're going to have an antibiotic, antimicrobial resistance at some point. So now, I'm not joking, they want to CRISPR engineer white blood cells, and they literally are called nanobots. Okay. Oh, that's a whole other story. It's a whole other story.
Did you get your nanobots today?
Yeah, no, I know, but this is to save humanity as well. Okay. So let me take you now into the geoengineering component. So I stay on top of, now you were talking about the Santa Ana watershed. I hope that, and if people don't have it, you can go to the NOAA library again, and you can look up all of it's like 1,000+ entries of non-federal weather modification projects that are happening, okay, right now. And you can look at past versions too for your county. And there's also the contact information on those contracts. You can get the name and the number of the people that are involved, whether it's an irrigation district or it's your city or whoever is diverting the water or whatever they're doing. You can find out who to call and where to get more information. Well, I happened to find a contract that led me into, it was a contract out of Golden, Colorado. And and in this contract, it was using electromagnetic means to modify the weather. And there were going to be some experiments conducted until like 2026. Okay. And included in the application was a document called the Global Alliance for Weather Modification. And I went, wow. So here you go. The WEF is involved. The United Nations and the WEF are clearly working together. We already knew this, but just to see it in a document, so I contacted the name on that contract and started to ask questions. And that led me into a conversation that has been it's a mixture of absolutely disturbing to utterly fascinating. And that will maybe be for another talk at some point. But I have been speaking with someone now who considers the United Nations and the World Economic Forum participants family. Okay. They have frequent meetings. They're talking all the time. One thing I discovered is that the WEF and the United Nations, they'll put out these like opportunities, these grants. They're looking for talent all around the world. We want scientists, engineers. We want you to come up with a way to help us with carbon capture or with stopping fires or with, rainfall or whatever, right? So what they're doing, and this is the brilliance, is they are recruiting talented, brilliant people from all over to do these, these benevolent, save the climate, save the planet, save humanity. We want you and then they have something called a tech share. So then these brilliant scientists and engineers are coming up with these techniques like magnetic weather modification technique, and they're using cyclotrons. It's basically particle accelerators. And so in this conversation, what I learned was this. I was like, are you doing cloud ionization? What are you doing? She said, no, that's old tech. That's, you needed 30% of the atmosphere to be moist so you could do it. This is completely new technology. These are cyclotrons. It's basically particle accelerators. I don't know how it works. I'm not the scientist, okay? But what she said was, we could put a blizzard over someone's house for 3 weeks. Out of nothing. You just set it up in such a way that you can, boom, modify the weather to the extent that that was the exact quote, put a blizzard over someone's house for weeks. And I went, oh God,
Right.
Like
how about the ice storm in Texas? You know what I mean?
Oh, it's all modified. It is all, I think it's all modified. I also think there's something to be said, and I don't know if we said this last time, but it's military, right? It's all military technology, and or they're buying it up and they're using it, right? So the military will come in and grab up the technology or anything that can benefit them for their wartime scenarios. Just think about this old document, forest fire is a military weapon. I mean, they've got all sorts of ways to wreak havoc on a population under the guise of, saving America. But really, they're using this against Americans right now. I think most people you talk to that have left the military that used to have higher ranking positions would tell you that our military no longer serves the people. I think it's been completely captured from the top. I'm not saying I've said very harsh things like, I hate FU military and FU US Air Force. I'm not talking about the everyday service people because my husband's former military, okay? I'm not talking about the people that signed up with the intention to do good, to defend America, to wear the flag with honor, right? To defend our freedoms. Those people, I'm not referring to you, okay? I'm referring to those psychopaths that get into positions at the Pentagon, that get into positions at the upper tier of the military. And what people don't realize, again, is that everything's handed down from the top, right? You have protocols, procedures. You just know what you're supposed to do. It's compartmentalized, right? You're going to get you access to this information and then this, so everyone's playing a role and they don't realize it yet.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's overwhelming, isn't it? I mean, all the things, it just never ends. I also wanted to say too, I'm sorry, I just had to finish that thought. I was telling you about Bill Gates and Oxitec and the Wellcome Trust, but then also Google is involved with all of this too. They've got a branch called, and Google is Alphabet, okay? Alphabet is the parent company, okay? Google is part of Alphabet. So is Verily Life Sciences. You're gonna find all these other subsidiaries from Alphabet, okay? And they were the ones that did a major release of the Wolbachia infected mosquitoes back in 2017. Millions in Texas, Florida, and California. Millions and millions upon millions of mosquitoes. And everyone's like, well, we've got a mosquito problem. So yes, please do spray us with your organic mosquitoes. It's, again, problem, reaction, solution. Right. It's all created by these freaks at the top who are just waiting in the background to get their mRNA vaccines in your arm for your dengue and your triple E and all the other baloney that's out there.
And disease X, whatever that is. But we're going to get you. We're going to protect you from that. We don't know what it is, but we're designing a vaccine to fight it. And it's like, I'm sorry, what? You don't even know what it is, but okay.
This was the scenario for monkeypox.
Right.
So take a screenshot of this and look it up. The World Economic Forum and NTI came together, and in this global framework, okay, these are called scenarios, like the Event 201. Take a picture, folks. I got a whole stack here. They had a timeline of when monkeypox was going to come out and what dates and times they'd have to do X, Y, and Z to prepare for this. Give me a break. Then everyone, I'm sure, has heard about this too. This is old news. This is 2010. This is scenarios for the future of technology and international development. That's the Rockefeller Foundation and the Global Business Network, which is a member of the Monitor Group. Look up that. Look up who's the Monitor Group. Research that. Who's the Global Business Network? Look into the players. Deloitte, you've got all these big Honeywell. They're all military contracted companies. It's military, fake philanthropists, wealthy bloodline families, Rockefellers, all these players are involved. And they are literally setting us up with their scenarios. They are working out, the chess pieces, the potential chess moves that they can then, and they're doing it. We live in a manufactured reality right now.
That's right. We absolutely do. Go ahead.
So what's the solution, everyone asks?
Right.
I keep speaking my truth as much as I can. And again, like you said, may this get out to anyone who's ready to receive it. May this also reach people who know this stuff, but maybe haven't done enough with regard to picking up the phone and holding their local representatives accountable, or holding your local mosquito vector managers accountable, or whatever it might be. I had a friend say to me a couple weeks ago, he was speculating on something. He's like, "Oh, what is this? What is this?" And everyone's like commenting. And I really hate it when people do this, when they post something without backing it up, or they post something that's like kind of scary sounding, but then nobody's getting to the bottom of what it really is, right?
Right.
I said, has anyone called the city to find out why they're doing this? Why these like big pallets are being dumped on this property? Like, because they're like, this is going to be storage for dead bodies. So everybody's like, but then I said, well, it's as simple as making a phone call and saying, hi, I'm calling about this property that's county property. There's these big storage kind of units that are setting up. What's going on there? Problem solved. And he said to me, I said, have you been in call? He's like, oh, I think I'm on too many lists and I just don't want to. And I said, if that's where we are, then we ain't going to win this fucking war.
Right.
Because if you can't pick up the phone because you're afraid you're on a list, just to ask questions. You're not picking up the phone to make a threat. You're picking up the phone to say, excuse me, just inquiring about the big units that you're dumping on this property. Where are they? And that's when I felt like I'm definitely not going to sleep at night, because my so-called freedom fighters are too afraid to pick up the freaking phone.
I know.
Then folks, buckle up, because we're going down. And thanks for your lack of participation. It's going to happen, right? That's where I am today. I want to get that fire under your ass to get out, make a call, stand up, put yourself in an embarrassing, awkward situation, talk to police, talk to your cashiers, tell everyone you know, put bumper stickers on your car, wear your shirts, right? Wear your shirts that say something.
Right.
You know?
There's so many ways to advertise it, for real. I mean, and to just get the information out.
If you're not a person that's willing to actually speak up and speak to a stranger, try it. Just try it. Just for the first time, just say, hey, I really feel like this is something important. Take it or leave it. But I just wanted to share. This is something that I've learned about something that's happening over our heads. In case you're interested, here's a flyer. You know, wear the shirts, wear the stickers, do something, right. Say something. And people are too uncomfortable to say anything. They just don't want to be ostracized or marginalized. We got to get past that, folks. I am more comfortable, frankly, hanging out with my chickens and my animals than I am with people anymore. Well, not true. I'm comfortable with all sorts of people. But my point is, I'm preferring my animal friendships over human friendships, because I find a lot of people, I'll just leave it at that. I don't know a lot of people that are putting themselves on the line. And I think it's easier for me to just keep doing what I'm doing, speak to strangers, and then be at home, because I'm more at peace with gardening and solutions at home. Again, by the way, my garden was off the charts this year. I am producing food like nobody's business. I am loving it. And that's one thing I can do too, is like, I'm trying to fight the system and at the same time build outside of the system.
Yes.
That's what we can also do. And you might say, I don't have a space for a garden. I really want a garden, but just start somewhere. Get a freaking pot, get some soil, throw your compost in there, whatever you want to do. Just start with something. It was an experiment for me. And there's stuff I didn't know what I planted, and I learned as I went. I didn't know how to harvest certain things. I learned as I went. I've got so much growing right now. It's ridiculous. I've got a complete nutritional grain called amaranth that is growing, and I'm cutting it. I'm drying it. I'm learning how to harvest the seeds. I'm saving seeds. So that's another thing you can be doing, is it doesn't have to be a big elaborate production. But I didn't know what I was doing, folks. I threw some seeds in the ground when I thought I needed to throw them in the ground. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I still am, but I started, right? You've got to start taking steps away. Also, I'm teaching my son how to shoot. So he's in this great junior Eagle program where he's learning how to shoot 22s, because I want him to learn whether he needs to hunt someday or use them as self-defense. He understands these are tools, and they've been working really hard to take our tools. I used to, and I think we talked about this, I was absolutely anti-gun years and years ago. I was like, who needs a gun? Well, you know, anti-war, anti-gun. Then I realized, oh, this is why we need weapons. We need weapons, well, yes, for hunting, but also for self-defense and home defense. Because as you know, who's coming over the borders right now, right? Young men who are going to fill the ranks of our army and our military. And when it's time for our country or our corrupted leaders to get us out of our homes for whatever reason, right? Or to force us to make space, or to force us to behave a certain way, they're going to arm and dress up these foreigners to do the dirty work, because these foreigners are getting the vouchers for housing. the food, the magic cards. You heard about the Haitians in Ohio, right? They've got their
Yep.
magic cards that they can go to the store and buy stuff. They have access. They can drive cars. How can they drive cars? How can they get a license and drive? How can they be voting? It's all by
Right.
design. They are undermining us from within. So you better have a little bit of food, some clean water, get a water distiller, and some home defense. Because I hate to say it, but there's probably going to come a time when you're going to have some non-Americans coming to your door to do the dirty work of the military or the army. Okay? We're there.
That's true. But that's the thing. It's like there's so much that people just want to focus on one thing. It's like they're coming at us from any angle you could possibly think of. The children, the sky, the ground, like through things you can't see, like energy weapons, right? I mean, there's so much. And it's like we have to start understanding. And that's why it's a lot for people to unpack and like wrap their head around and be like, okay, what? You know what I mean? But it's like start somewhere where you just can start to see what's actually happening. And then the rest, it's like, it's not surprising after that. Once you like accept that this is happening, the next thing that kind of gets on the list, you're just like, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not surprised with that. I just shoot, what else is out there? Like, I want to know all of it.
I went through such darkness for a while. I think when you're first ripping off the Band-Aid, I mean, yes. I went for it once. It's like I just wanted to unpeel rapidly. I was like, what's the truth? What's the truth? What's the truth? I was hungry, right? I said to you last time, drinking from the fire hose. Yes. Now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, I get it. Now I get it. It's like absolutely everything's corrupted. So I'm not surprised or shocked anymore. But you can get through it. I'll tell you something that's really beautiful for me is that I don't really give a flying rat's anymore what people think about me. I don't care if you think I'm crazy or a conspiracy theorist. I don't really care anymore. And that is liberating. And it's liberating for me to stand in my truth and speak in my truth. And I am not afraid. I've had over 10 people or more, lots more, say, you're going to get yourself killed for talking about these things. I said, am I? If that is my fate, then so be it. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to say, F you, Gates, F you, Biden, Kamala, military, you know what I mean when I say that? I'm not afraid of you. I'm going to continue exposing you because you're in the wrong and you're causing harm. And I'm not going to take your bullshit anymore. And that is liberating to be in my truth because I'm fighting for what's right. And I don't care if you don't like how I say it or how I express myself. I'm fighting for humanity. I'm fighting for nature. I'm fighting for the environment. I am not here to play.
Oh my gosh.
I reject and I die. And I don't care if that means I die on my doorstep in a showdown when they're trying to tell me they have to register my chickens or they need to take my child away for some reason or they need to take me away for some reason. Not over my doorstep. That's where you cross my line and I'm prepared. So
exactly. And we need to be prepared. We can't, like, they want us to be afraid. They want us to be in such a position that we go, oh, I can't do that because of this. And it's like, you should do that because of that. You should do it in spite of that. And you should just step into it because it is freeing. It is the most freeing, even though you're being enslaved. It's like the most freeing thing you could possibly do. And if people just understood that, oh my gosh, they would not ever want to walk out of it.
If you're true to yourself, then you are free. If you are living with as much, integrity and you're looking for truth, like I don't have all the answers, right? I'm not like zen and blissed out and feeling like I've got all the answers and I'm the one that's right. I just know that I'm living in my truth. I'm human. I make mistakes. I'm learning as I go. I remain open and receptive, but I also know that I will stand up and speak out about the things that I know in my gut feel like, wrong. There's so much wrong. There's so much wrong. Oh,
there is. But that's the thing. No, go ahead. Yeah.
There was an inspiring video I just saw. I forget who it was. It was a gentleman who was on, I'll share it with you after this. Maybe you could put a link. Yeah. And the FBI rolled up to his house, couple dudes. Okay.
Right.
And he stood there at his door and they said, we're with the FBI officer so-and-so. He said, what's your full name? And they wouldn't tell him. He's like, I'm not talking to you until you give me your full names. And it was like, that is what we need more of. We need more people who are like, not going to cower when they, they're afraid of people in uniform, right? You don't have to be afraid. They're people. They're people with power. And you can just say to them, hey, I'm not having this. I know my rights and I'm not going to have this conversation until you identify yourself. Officers, Scooby-Doo, I need your first name. Okay. And it was just the best exchange. And I thought, that is inspiring. I love seeing
Yes.
people that are comfortable, just saying,
Well,
no,
like stepping into our own authority, like we
yeah,
have the authority to do it. Everyone just is giving it up to
yeah.
the other people. And I'm like, no, just stand in that, because when you do, it's like, oh my gosh, it actually worked. But it's
Mhm.
because they're not expecting it, but we have it. We don't have to ask for permission to do it, where
Mhm.
people think that that's the case. And it's like, just stand in that,
Yeah.
stand in that. It's God given. It is from source. It's from our creator that we have been given this authority, and we're just going like, no, I think I'm going to hand it to someone else because I'm too afraid. Mm-mm.
That's the other thing. If there's one thing I want to like end with or leave people with, it's you don't have to wait for anyone
Mm-mm.
to do something. You don't have to wait for a lawsuit. You don't have to wait for a promised future lawsuit. You don't have to wait for a template to do a notice of liability. You can make the call. You can make the drive. You can do the investigation. You can start today and do
Yeah.
something immediately. So stop waiting again for the lawsuits or the promises. Oh, Bobby's going to stop geoengineering, he says when he's with Trump. I just said, why are we waiting? You know,
Right.
what are we waiting for? Okay, does that mean you can sit back on your laurels? We cannot wait for these people to deliver. I've seen too many
Right.
promises, false promises, and a lot of grifting,
Yes.
frankly. Too much grifting. Stop investing. Stop giving your money to these nonprofits, okay? Just stop it. Put your money in your house, your neighbors, your children, your community, your garden.
Yeah.
That's where your money is better spent, not on the false promises that are out there, okay? I've seen too much. When I needed a lawyer to help me with something, and I had volunteered my time for years, okay? And I needed one of their attorneys to help me with something. I couldn't get a lawyer to write me a nasty letter of liability for if my life depended on it. So I am
Right.
not waiting for a lawyer. Not waiting for a lawyer, not waiting for a lawsuit. I'm not waiting anymore. I'm going to make that drive out there, and I want to get to know the pilot and see him, look him in the eyes and say, what are you doing? Here are my concerns. This is my name. Here I am. Let's meet face to face and let's talk. I'll guarantee he's going to sleep differently, knowing that a woman came out there. I told him, I said, I've been here waiting for hours. He's like, you have? And I said, yes, because it's that important to me. It took 8 hours out of my life. I got home and went to bed at 2 a.m. That's what we need more of you to be doing.
That's right. That's right. And we can, like, you don't need to be afraid to do it. You don't need to ask permission to do it.
You can
You
be
need, we need
friendly.
to go and do it.
You
And
can be
because how do we, yes, well, and you don't know if you didn't plant a seed with him, that now he's going to go, well, wait, maybe I need to rethink what I was saying, because if they use this as a nerve agent, do I know that for sure what I'm doing isn't causing harm?
Yeah.
And then, because I think once people realize it, or kind of step into that and go, wait a minute, am I engaged in that?
Yeah.
Then it makes them not want to do it. So it doesn't matter, even talking to somebody at the store. Hey, have you seen that in the sky lately? Or like, do you get headache? Like just whatever it is, but it's like just having conversations, which is exactly what they don't want us to do, which is exactly why we have to do it.
Yep. And by the way, I wanted to give you kudos for going up and asking questions at the hotels and even saying the staff doesn't want to tell us. If you're doing something that's benign or that's
Yes,
appropriate, why wouldn't you just tell us what you're doing?
exactly.
There's the secrecy around it. Expose
Mhm.
it, just like you're doing. You're
Yes,
exposing the secrecy. And that's the thing. There's so much secrecy. And I
that's
love,
right.
for me, I'm like, I want to go meet that manager face to face.
I
I
know.
want to call them, and have a conversation. It's not enough anymore just to like sign a petition or share information. We have to
Right.
actually engage. And that means making that call. And you might go, I don't even know what to say. That's okay. Just start with, I'm concerned about something. I want to talk to you about it. Tell me
Mhm.
about it. Learn about it. Ask questions. And then do some more research and then call them back up again and say, okay, now I've done some more research and I have these concerns. And what are we going to do about this? And what about this? That's all you
Right.
have to do. Get
Yes.
engaged, though. I'll tell you, the greatest change I've seen, because I've had a lot of people say, don't bother trying. They're all asleep at the wheel. They're never going to change their mind. Bullshit. I was a progressive lefty, folks. And now I'm a more conservative, love my country boys, love my guns, and get the government the hell out of my life. Thank you, big brother. No, thank you. Okay.
Right.
You can change. And
Yes.
I've got my family to wake up, many of them. Now, my husband's still a little behind, but he's coming along. Okay. And there's a lot of stuff he still goes, that's crazy. And I'm like, just wait. Joe Rogan will tell you about it in 2 years, and then you'll
Yeah.
accept that I was right.
Exactly.
So, that's where we are. But you've got to talk to people. I am talking with strangers every single day, and that is planting seeds. I'm giving information, and they're like, oh, and you're also normalizing it so that people don't feel so off. People are like, I don't want to talk about geoengineering or chemtrails because I would look like a conspiracy theorist. Who
Right.
cares? We need to let
Right.
you, like, I am done keeping a lid on it, right? Oh, by the way, that said, this is kind of funny. I don't think we've ever been to the darn moon. I think
No,
that's
we
all
have not.
too. I
No, we
know.
have.
And so my husband, who like very, we again, I used to be, I grew up without any religion. I believed in evolution. Okay. Like I'm like going, wow, I can't believe it. I was like so wrapped up in that too. We all have this faith in something. And so I've been saying to my husband,
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever been to the moon. He's like, well, what about the Voyager? But what about the satellites? I said, it's quite possible they're all in high altitude balloons. And I've done a post
Yes.
on this before. I said, and also when the rockets go up, you notice how they always curve and they appear to be straight,
Yes.
right?
Right.
So I know that's out there for people, but I don't care. I'm going to put this on the table. I think everything should be on the table. Now, I'm not going to
Yes.
tell you that I know for a fact whether it's round, flat, or on a ferret's back or what, but I'm just going to say that we've been lied to for so long, and it's time for us to start looking and exploring and being open, and at
Yes.
least being willing to challenge our own learned, deeply held belief systems, because that's where we are right now. There is so much that we've been living in that's been deception for generations and generations. So now's the time to just put all of it on the table and don't belittle people for exploring something either. Okay.
Exactly.
Explore it. Try not to spin on too much on it, and also don't let that stop you from being proactive in the ways you can be on a local level. But keep an open mind. I have no time for fiction anymore. I just
Right.
want to learn, or I want to be in my garden, and you're learning when you're in your garden too, because you're, so yeah, there's just,
I know.
me too.
It's great, but it's like we can educate ourselves,
Mhm.
right? Where we've been indoctrinated since we were kids. And it's so freeing to step outside of those constructs and be like, oh my gosh, that's all facade. Holy
Yeah.
crap. Okay. And then
Yeah.
it helps you navigate stuff. But you can see, like, just by listening to these officials or whatever that'll come forward and they're just lying out their teeth. And once you can see that and understand, that's why it's like almost just be under the umbrella. They lied to us about everything.
Everything.
And go from there. But accept that. You have to accept that that is going on so that you can move forward out of it. So then, but you have to be open and say, well, okay, well, did we actually do that? If they want us to believe that, is that true? And then educate yourself, do your own research and go in there and try and find out, because it's there waiting for you to find it. We're just like so easily going, oh no, I have to turn that away because that is too far-fetched. Nothing is too far-fetched.
I was so on the vaccine train many, many years ago when I think we talked about this in my 30s. I was like, give me every shot I can get, because I had a chance to get free shots for my travels. Right. And I'm at the point now where I will never in the rest of my life ever, 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 ever have another shot. And neither will my child over my dead body. We have been jabbed up to the hilt. Okay. We are done with that baloney. I have learned now. I think, again, a lot of this disease stuff is also caused by their chemicals and their poisons and probably their frequencies and their microwave radiation. Okay. They have been making us sick, to which they give us their remedies or their booster programs. Okay. I'm over it. I'm done. I think every vaccine was intended to cause harm. I'm just going to put that out there. Every single vaccine was intended to cause harm. I don't care if you disagree with me. It'll just take you enough time, or sadly, it'll take probably personal injury before you learn, and that will be your own journey. So that's where I am too. I love just putting my shit on the table.
I know, right? I mean, it's the best because we have to do that and we have to be willing to do it. And I think it encourages others to do it as well.
Yeah.
The more that we do. But man, this has been fun. I look forward to, you'll have to come back again. We'll have to talk more about the geoengineering, because I know there's commercial planes that are doing it. And that's something too that people don't want to.
I think it's a lot of, so I've seen unmarked, and we should wrap it and we should talk about it again, but this is ongoing. Yes. So let me just let everyone know, if you're in California at the very least, okay, like we are, there are decades old geoengineering projects that have been happening, okay, decades old. So again, what we can do is walk through how they can find a contract, right? And now if you're on the California Chemtrails page, that's my page, okay, on Telegram, I will, if you want to reach out to me there and say, hey, remind me again how I can find a local weather modification project near me, I will tell you right how to get to where you are. If you're like, here's my county, this is where I live, this is a map of my area, whatever, I can find a project that's happening or impacting you, whether it's over your head or impacting your water supply. I will find it for you. And then from there, what I really want people to do is start calling the names on the contract and asking questions like, hi, I see this project that you have here, and I see that you've been doing it for the last 6 years, and I just want to understand, how does this get voted in, and what are your,
Right.
what's the documentation you have to tell us that this is safe? And by the way, you're going to get more with honey versus vinegar, right? So
Mhm.
be kind, but ask questions. You don't have to be the expert. You're calling them because they're the ones that are doing the program. So there's a
Right.
lot out there, and they're going to start ramping up now. Usually for me in our area, it's November through April. Okay. So that's when they're going to start up their non-federal project that they have been doing for decades and decades and decades. And then my next step, by the way, is to go and confront those pilots because I've never been able to confront those pilots yet. And they won't answer my calls. I call the company directly and they won't answer my calls. They won't answer my emails. And they know I'm hot to trot for them. They've taken down some information. And at one point I had the ejectors they were using, these I forget the term now, but there's these ejectors that they use that they drop into the clouds, and they have, so my husband and I looked into it. And at one point I called them and said, it was Ice Flares was the company, I think. And I said, I want to see your package insert here. It's taken down. So they've taken that stuff down. So now you can no longer look at all of the ingredients in their products.
Right.
So it'll take actually going up and talking to the pilots. And I love it. I mean, and document everything. Record audio if you need to, or film it. I try not to put a camera right in their face because I don't want them to feel threatened. My first goal is to have genuine conversation and to say, hi, I just wanted to meet the guys that are spraying the silver iodide here, and let's just talk. Like, what are you doing, and how long have you been doing this? And what do you know about the flares that you're using? What do you know about the ejectables that you're using, and how does that work? And can I see a package? Can I see an insert or a safety data sheet for these flares, right? Because I can't find anything online, but what's amazing is that they know then they're not just the person that can do it in the shadows, right? So far, nobody's ever challenged them, right? The pilot gets to do his job and go home and live a good life, and he's never been challenged until, perhaps his company has before. I know he did tell me there was a gentleman that challenged him who said, "Did you just spray over my property?" And came out with a shotgun, and they ended up talking, but. A lot of them haven't been confronted yet. So when I say confronted, I don't mean aggressively. I just mean go and make contact so that they know, oh, so people are actually watching our flight. And, they're aware that my company's doing this. Okay, it's going to change their world, whether they know it or not. It's going to change the way they think about it. You got to start disrupting in those ways.
Yes, like we need to start inserting ourselves into stuff, and yeah, it's important. And so I'm so glad that you came today. And so we will have to bring you back.
Yes.
I love you so much. And
I love you too. You're a soul.
Yes, and just keep going, and we'll keep sharing each other's stuff and bringing light to this. Let's continue to have conversations with people and just be the change that we need to see, because we can do it. And it's not as hard as people think. So thank you, Catherine. Look forward to having you back. And I hope everybody enjoyed that. And it helps you kind of have a different understanding of the world around us and all the things they don't want us to know that we need to know and we need to share with others so that we can make a difference. So God bless everybody. Join me next time where I bring you more